Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Helen Millar, Head to Heart Living. I am so excited to be joined today by Kathy Buckley. I heard about her and I heard her speak years later. Had the privilege to this week just gone through the Tony Robbins Wealth Mastery course I was doing. Her story is extraordinary, but more than that, I was so moved by the strength and the freedom and the joy and the light that was pulsing through her. And when she came on stage, it was 4:30 in the morning UK time, and I'd been up for about 18 hours. I was very tired, and I was sitting on my bedroom floor thinking, come on, stamina. But I was slowly fading into my cushions, and then I was completely awake, wide-eyed, couldn't miss a second. Kathy's story is exceptional, and because she's an exceptional woman, and the journey that she's been through to become who she is today. And I think this will be particularly helpful to anybody who's had a rough start in life, has had crisis, maybe crisis after crisis happen to them, potentially is feeling like they don't feel like they could stand up another time because when's the next punch coming from life? And how you can transform any situation to be more than what has happened to you, and also the power of forgiveness. So, firstly, thank you so much, Kathy. You're known as a comedian and actress and a motivational speaker. You've been all over the world and have been in places like Good Morning America. You've spoken at the Carnegie Hall. You've won awards. So, I'm really grateful that you can be with us today. So, thank you.
There's no other place I'd rather be but in the moment with you, Helen.
Thank you so much. So, I know that your start in life was challenging. Would you share with people how your life journey unfolded to bring you where you are today?
Um, I I was born Rh negative, which means the parents' blood don't match, so they have to get a transfer your blood immediately. Unfortunately, I was on an Air Force base, and they didn't have the blood for me, so they brought a priest in to give me my last rite. And then somehow or another, like 48 hours later, they got the blood. I'm alive. Woohoo! And then, then a few years later, I ended up with spinal meningitis. Again, both times the doctors told my parents that I would be a slow learner because of the conditions. So the belief system became that I'm a slow learner. So now I am in school for mentally retardation for several years. I was 8 years old when they found out it was just a hearing loss, and they called me slow. And then I ended up in the school with a teacher who I just adored. She taught me how to talk through a balloon. To take a balloon, blow it up, tie it in a knot, place it right here in the throat and chest, and I would learn how to speak through my vibrations. So I was going through school not understanding what made me different. By the time I graduated from school, because I was so confused and lost and not knowing any of my surroundings, but wanted to be accepted and be a part of this community. And I just didn't know what was going on around me. You know, when you have a hearing loss, it's not like you can see somebody's arms or legs are missing. So, but when you have a hearing loss, it's invisible. And the sad thing is, it's invisible to me that I don't know what's going on. All I wanted was to be loved, to be a part of something. And so by the time I went through public school, they put me in a public school. I had no business being in public school. And I was as lost as they came. I got all low grade, don't know what's going on. The only class I was passing, we had a class called home economics, where you can bake and sew, and I can make anything because it's visual and I could put things together with my hands. But when it comes to reading and writing and all of that stuff, I didn't know what was going on. So by the time I graduated from high school, I've tried committing suicide 5 different times. Now, there are going to be some things I'm not going to be successful at, Helen. And there's not a day that goes by where I don't thank God for letting me fail at least 5 different times. I had no dreams. I had no goals. I had nothing. I don't know what's going on. And so when I finished school, I got a job in a warehouse, ticketing merchandise in a sporting goods store. And then one day, it was my day off work, I decided to go to the beach, get me some color. Because I'm so white, I can do a commercial for Clorox. But I did this thing. I laid on the beach, and the lifeguard Jeep ran over me. It ran over my face, stomach, chest, side, and back. I was laid up for 5 years. I was in and out of a wheelchair for 2.5 years. They said I'd never walk again. I figured I didn't hear them. I got up and I left.
Wow.
It was the hardest.
Wow.
It was the hardest time of my life. I was on what they called welfare in the United States, and it was $100 a month. My rent for my apartment was $80. You guys are going, how old is she? But but it was $80. I only had $20 left for the whole month for food, gas, electricity. I was hungry a lot, and I just didn't know where my life was going. I was scared. I was alone. I had no family support. I had no idea what I was going to do. When I finally started walking again, I got a hold of an old car and I packed it up, and I was living in Cleveland, Ohio, and I just started driving. And I had no idea what I was doing. All I knew is that I thought if I left Ohio, I could leave all my pain there. Little did I know, I took me with me. And then, boy, it might follow me everywhere. But I ended up in my car in California. I stayed in my car for 3 months. I met a young lady. Her name was Ann Ablin. She was looking for a roommate. I moved in with her. And then 2 years later, I found out I had cancer. So after a while, you get a little pissed off at life.
How old were you at this point?
I was in my, let me think. I was in my 20s, late 20s at this time.
But just to recap, you're born deaf. It takes them 8 years to realize that's what's going on and that you're not stupid. They put you in a mainstream school where you can't hear what's going on. You tried to commit suicide 5 times. I 3 times, also rubbish.
Ah, see, we're not very
Anyway,
good at this, are we?
good, not good. And also very grateful blessed that I'm here. And then you get out, you don't have much to live for. You sunbathe on the beach, you don't hear the Jeep coming. It drives over your whole body, including your face and your torso. You're told you're never going to walk again. You're in a wheelchair, and then you get yourself better. What an amazing spirit. And then you're diagnosed with cancer in your 20s. And what was going through your
Well,
head?
that really sounds depressing, Helen. I don't know. I mean,
It just sort of feels like you must have ticked the boxes when you were given a choice of what you wanted in this life and you looked at the wrong list. Or,
I couldn't read. I just kept checking off boxes. And no, it was. I think when I got the cancer, I went in for all the surgeries and treatments and
uh,
everything. But they said they got it all, and then 6 months later, they gave me a call and said they didn't get it all. And at this point, I'm pissed off. Why am I alive? To survive every time I turn around. I gotta survive. I gotta fight. What is going on? And so when I got it the second time around, I was so mad that memories started coming back to me. memories that I suppress. And what people don't seem to understand, when a child is being hurt, the day that child is being molested or hurt or disrespected, that childhood stops. Now they're in survival mode. They're gonna hide, they're gonna fight the way, they don't trust anything. Every negative word in the vocabulary becomes a part of who you are. The fear, the anxiety, the depression, all of it comes alive. So that day, I never forget, I was so angry. And when the memories came back about my dad molesting me, I didn't know if it was real or not. It was like these pictures were coming to me, and I was like, no. But I got mad enough to get a plane ticket and flew back to Ohio to confront my dad. And that was one of the hardest things to do. Not realizing my confronting my dad. At that time, I was trying to figure out, did it happen? Did it not? What's going on? When I confronted him and he denied it, now I think I'm crazy, right? I'm like, did this my imagination? And I ran upstairs, and never forget, it was Christmas Eve. I ran upstairs to another room where there was a couch. And when you cry, you do this. You know how you do that when you cry? I didn't do that. I sat there and water poured out of my head without any physical, I didn't even know that was humanly possible. My dad came upstairs, and my dad was very young looking, and he got on his knees and he said, my God, what have I done to you? Don't hate all men, just hate me. And I'm like, okay. But I didn't. Because when my dad was on his knees on the couch, by the couch, his face aged like 10, 20 years, but the remorse on his face. So my nature, because I'm a woman, I'm a caregiver, I was like, oh, it's okay. I'm patting him on the back. Our conversation didn't last 4 minutes. I did not take care of Kathy. I didn't take care of me. I went back to California, going on with my life. I thought because he admitted it, that it was over with. You know? And then a few years go by, my stepsister calls me up and she goes, Mom and Dad are getting a divorce. And I'm like, I don't care. And she goes, I'm going to go stay with Dad for a couple of days. And I said, no, don't. I didn't want her to be alone with him. And so she went ahead and started telling me her stories. And I said, that's it. I'm flying home. I'm going to confront him again. We're going to do it together.
So he'd abused her as well?
Yes. So now I'm worried about my brothers having kids. So I flew home. And when I got there, Gina wanted nothing to do with it. So I confronted my dad again. And he kept saying, I don't know why this stuck with me, but he kept saying, what do you want from me? What do you want from me? And I go, I don't know. Maybe if you just learn how to be happy, I can be happy. You're my dad. You're supposed to set an example of what kind of a life I'm supposed to have. So if you're happy, I will learn to be happy. And I just kept saying that. And he kept saying, what do you want? And when I went to drive back to my mother's house, I was sitting there and I'm in the car, and it was like, well, what do you want from him, Kathy? I kept asking myself, and I realized what he's done is done and over with. What I'm doing is carrying on the memory of the pain, the discomfort, and I'm carrying on all the stuff that he did to me. It's almost like if you had a dump truck come and dump all the trash in your living room. And that's what he did. He dumped all his trash in my heart, my soul, and believing that I'm not good enough, nobody's gonna love me, I'm not pretty enough. All these negative things that came to me became my belief system.
Yeah.
So I go back home to LA, I'm doing my comedy, I start doing stand-up. And then one day I'm watching myself on TV, which is weird, lip reading yourself. And so the phone rings. I'm like, hello. I go, oh, hi, Dad. How are you? He says, I'm in a mental institution. I tried to commit suicide. Doctor says I have to call everybody and ask for forgiveness. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know what forgiveness was at the time. But when he asked for something from me, something inside of me, like there was this little creature had been living in the pit of my gut. And this voice yelled out, no, really loud. My voice did something I didn't even know it was capable of doing. And I scared myself. And so when I calmed down, I said, look at Dad, I got to be in Chicago. But when I'm done in Chicago, I come to Cleveland. But when I get there, you don't hug me, look at me, touch me, nothing. And that was the first time I spoke up for Kathy. So then I realized I can't go back to Cleveland. I need help. How many times in my life do I have to come and open? See, I always visualize that in the back of my head, there's this shelf, and there's all these boxes with people's names on it that have hurt me or held me back. But I didn't realize all these boxes was me holding the crap. So it's like, how many times do I have to take the dad box off, open it up, and it's like the box of Pandora. It's just all this evilness comes flying out at you. How many times do I have to mourn for me? So I need help. I went to a group therapy. 13 women in a half circle. They start telling their stories. I was blown away. They came to me and I said, what are we doing? She goes, you tell your story in detail till you get it all out. So I did. It was my first time that I just vomited it all out. And it felt fabulous. And so I said, now this was my naive mind. I thought I threw it all up. Now you're going to give me a solution as to how I'm going to handle the situation when I go to Ohio. This is my naive mind.
Yeah.
So I went ahead. 2 nights later with another meeting. So here I am, I'm all excited, I'm gonna, yeah! And so all of a sudden, they start telling their stories again. Now I'm uncomfortable. It came to me, I go, what are we doing? She goes, you tell your story till you get it all out. I go, I did 2 days ago. Who's deaf here, you or me? And so I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable saying it again. So when the women had the coffee and the donuts, I started asking them, how long have you been coming here? 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? 5 years? You come here and tell your story twice a week for 5 years? As far as I'm concerned, you are molesting, raping, and abusing yourself.
Yeah.
I don't want to live this life. I canceled my job in Chicago. I flew directly to Ohio. I walked into that doctor's office. The doctor was sitting at the desk. My dad was at the desk. I went right up to my dad and I said, who the hell do you think you are? What were you thinking? Why did you say the things you said when you were touching me? And I was going at it. And the doctor goes, you can't yell at him. He's suicidal. I go, that's okay. I'd kill him and save him the trouble. My dad looked at the doctor and you know what he said? He goes, let her have at me. 2 things came to mind. One, how many times do I have to open up the box of Pandora? Who am I hurting? Who am I hurting the most? 2, the day on the beach, I died. I saw life after death. At least I believe I did. I spent the first 20 years of my life looking for 3 things: love, warmth, and acceptance. When I died, I got a love that's out of this world. A love in knowing everything is good. A warmth in knowing that I am protected. An acceptance, totally unconditional as I am. But I was given a fourth gift, a gift that no one ever gave me in my life. And that was a gift of choice. I got to choose whether I was going to go or stay. And I remember that gift choice when my dad said that to the man, to the doctor. How many times do I have to open the bar? I need to make a choice. Dad, stand up. I'm going to give you a hug. And when I hug you, from here on out, we no longer have this story. Because if you think about it, whatever happened to us is in a time capsule. It's in that time capsule. And it's up to us is how much life we give it. I said, now, if you want a relationship on my terms, you may hug me back. My terms meant I have the power now. My terms mean I now am looking out for Kathy. And what I did is I took a picture of myself when I was a little girl, and I would take this picture with me everywhere I go, and I said, I will take care of you. I will love you. I will benefit for you. And for the longest time, I had that picture. Now I don't carry it anymore because she lives within me. I get to have my childhood as an adult. I get to have fun. I can act like an idiot, and I don't care what people say. So I get to do my thing. So a few years ago, my dad and I had a beautiful relationship for 30 years, but there was always this underlying thing with me. See, I blamed the beer. My dad drank a lot of beer. He was always drinking. And I put the blame on the beer for those situations and those issues that came up. And I was okay as long as my dad's living 3,000 miles away, everything. My dad called and said, I'd love to come out to California. I didn't know what to do. I can't have him in my house, alone in my house.
Mm.
You know, I was nervous. Well, you can make the downstairs a bedroom for him. You got to grow up, Kathy, because you got to see how strong you really are. So my dad wanted to go to Vegas. And I said, are you okay with sharing one room? Because I'm an adult now. I could take him on. He's 70 something years old. I could take him down, big toughie over here. And I'm okay. And everything was fine. But in a hotel room, they have two beds and that little end table in the middle.
Yeah.
The minute the light went off, that little girl came up out of me. And I looked at in my mind, I'm like, hey, we're not little anymore. We're adults. We got this. We're okay. It took me a couple of minutes to finally go to sleep. But I know that this person doesn't want to hurt me anymore. So why am I hurting myself? So I would never buy him beer, because who I blamed. But that's what he lived for. I mean, he's done it since he was 14.
Mm.
He's an Englishman. He's from England. So he had his beer. He would love to sit out in the sun. I got him in the pool. And I got to have a relationship. It was hard because it went back and forth with me and this little girl that lives in me.
Mm.
Because every once in a while, she saw him as evil. But the adult in me, who sees him now, an older man, who doesn't have those thoughts anymore that I know of, so it was a conflict for a while. And then a few years ago, so every time he wanted to come out here, I got stronger because I laid down the rules. You know, you're not going to drink here, you're not, whatever it is. But then a few years go by, and my dad was diagnosed with dementia. I flew home every month to take care of my dad. Because no matter what, he's still a child of God. He made bad choices. I was a part of those bad choices. But that was yesteryears. Who are we today? Who are we today? And so I flew home every month to take care of him. I slept in the same bed with him for 3 nights in a row till he took his last breath. And when he did, I looked to the heavens and I said, thank you. Not because he died, but because in forgiving, letting go, and loving him unconditionally showed me what happiness was. He was showing me by allowing me to continue to love him unconditionally. He may not have done that intentionally, but it showed me the power that I have in me to let go of something so traumatic and to be able to take that box off my back shelf and watch it disappear because I chose to let it go. People don't choose to let things go. They allow it to be a victim of someone else's stupidity, ignorance, their actions, their words. We are solely responsible for how we're going to look at that person. A child sees her dad, who helps her go get help with tutoring and everything else. Why would he do that to me? So I had the conflict of, why is this person good to me? Why is he doing this? I don't like it, you know. But I didn't know that we are powerful humans when we get out of our head and come back to our heart. It's what we got to take off the shelf. So when I went home, when I came back home, I thought about all the people who've hurt me, and I said, how much am I holding on to? I needed to ask myself. So I got this big poster board and I wrote down everybody's names who hurt me, who made me feel less than, who made me feel like I wasn't worthy. And I wrote down all their names, and on the top, whose name's on the top? Mine. I'm responsible to how I react to all their crap. So I wrote next to their names, what did they do or say that really made me feel less than or made me feel limited? And so I wrote all that stuff down. Then I wrote down next to that, how did it make me feel? And baby girl, I cried. I cried and cried and cried because how it made me feel is how I let it make me feel. And I saw how I was abusing myself, my child in me, my adult who couldn't grow, who couldn't mature because I was so caught up in the story. So what did I write next to that? What can I learn from this experience? What did I learn from them? Everything in life has a lesson.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to look at it in a different perspective, the problem is women are emotional and we just take the emotion of it. But we have to take it and dissect it and put the words into it. The story is something that happened. If I don't trust you because of what happened to me, does that mean I'm going to miss out on an incredible opportunity over here? Which means I've given the power away to that story. Am I making sense?
Yeah, and I think this. I'm so moved by what you said because there's so many points in your story that speak to me and what I went through with my dad who abused me, and where, and also, I found God in my journey, and I don't think I could have gone through what I went through when the memories started coming back without that framework that's so much bigger than me to hold me. And I think that's the intelligence of the brain that it keeps things back until you can cope with them. And I think I think that like the caveat is that we cannot fast forward. We cannot do it on our timeline in terms of going from this happened to me and now I forgive them and I'm fine. But actually you haven't gone through that point where the no came out and you got to say this was not good enough. And it's that reclaiming of your power through the feeling of it needs to really happen before you can get to forgiveness, because otherwise there's this spiritual bypassing that you haven't physically forgiven them. You're telling yourself you should do because that's what good people do. And then you're gaslighting yourself because actually you're making yourself wrong and shaming yourself for still having the feelings. But at the same point, like your self-help group, which showed you so vividly, if you just live in the story and you never move on, then you're your own prisoner. And that's the divine timing piece about how you go from acknowledging what's happened to you. There was a process I had to go through where I wanted to tell everybody because I hadn't been able to tell everybody, or people hadn't believed me, and it had been covered up, or I'd been told I was lying. And so I had to find my power through that. And then there becomes a point where that is then a label I'm giving myself. And I'm so much more than that. I am aware because that happened to me, but I have the strength I have because that happened to me. I have the ambition and the thirst for life because that happened to me. I can appreciate the little things and the joy of seeing the sun on the water because I know what the depth of pain feels like. And I know what, and I got to the stage where I went to my father and I said, I am here to have a relationship with you now, and these are my terms. And he ripped my terms up and said no. And he died when we were estranged because he was still in a place where he was still trying to hurt me and verbally, not physically, but verbally, psychologically. And by that point, loved myself enough to say, I'm not here for that. My life is too precious. I've
Yeah.
given you an opportunity. I can pray for you. I can send good thoughts to you. I totally acknowledge other people around you. I'm not trying to stop them from supporting you, but it can't be me. It can't be me, and I live my life because I have love to give other people. And then he died, but I got a phone call from a doctor who said, I've been told not to call you, but your dad's had a big heart attack and he won't make it. Come now. And I rushed to the hospital and I got to be with him and hold his hand and pray and tell him I forgave him whilst he left this body. And I am so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful for the healing that I've experienced since he's been passed, because I can now really see how much pain and how painful his entire life was. He also drank red wine, not beer.
Can I ask
And
you, can
yeah,
I ask, did you, oh man, don't get old. This stuff slips out of your head like nobody's business. I'm grateful that you had that moment with your dad. That was a gift given to you. But
yeah,
did you notice that when they pass, you could see who they are as a person and not a dad, your parent? Could you see, like you said, you saw his own suffering. He has his own things he had to deal with.
With my mum, because I was with my mum was given 8 weeks to live, 4 years before my dad. And I saw that with her. I got when in my funeral speech, I gave her a speech, and I nearly said the gift of nursing her through this cancer and sleeping in the bed with her for nights and helping her go to the toilet. The gift was I got to see her not through the eyes of a daughter, but through the eyes of a woman to woman, and
Thank you.
love her as a woman. And that I got with my mum. With my dad, I got to see his pain and that he was a lost little boy many times in my life. When I was 14, I realized that this is not a man who can protect me and I can't go to him with problems. And I didn't remember my childhood at that point. The abuse stopped when I was 10, but I had blocked it out. But I realized he wasn't a safe place. And so many times in my adult life, I saw the dysfunction. And I don't want to say I pitied him, but I had that capacity to see that. And I don't think because he was still so angry as he died, I didn't get to experience it in the same room for him. But I did get to say to him, he could hear me, but he couldn't speak. And I did get, which I think was a blessing because he was still very angry. But I did get to say, I forgive you, I love you, and I'm sorry that this is the way it's been. But when I pray now, I feel him whole, I feel him healed, I feel him full of love for me, and that
They didn't know.
priceless.
I'm not. There's no excuse, but people do make bad choices.
Mm,
They don't realize what they're doing. They're just trying to serve their own temptation. But I'm not making excuses. But like you said earlier, nobody believed me when I told them. I tried to go to my mom. She didn't. My brothers didn't believe me. Nobody believed me until my stepsister stepped up and said something.
mm,
It made me feel so rejected from the whole family that I wasn't worthy enough to believe me.
mm.
I'm looking for help, and nobody was there to help. And it shows you how powerful you are on your own. We have everything we need within us to survive any situation. And that once you can put your emotions of that little girl, and I'm sorry my little girl went through that. But boy, I love her because without her, I can't be me. Without my challenges, I can't see the joy in life. Because, like you said, I mean, I go crazy for the hummingbirds out there. And the lizards in the backyard, they're humping. I don't know what they're humping, but they're humping. And there's nothing underneath them. They're not the brightest animals, but they're cute. But, you start seeing things that most people take for granted.
Yeah,
You see things, most people just walk by a fabulous tree that's probably growing out of a crack of a cement. And I look at it like, you go, man. You go, determination, live that life. And we have to have that joy to
yeah,
live life. People take it too seriously. People are too worried about money. People are worried
mm,
about so many things. And yes, there's a lot of craziness going on in the world, especially in this country.
yeah,
But we have a lot of stuff within ourselves if we don't carry other people's trash with us. Carry
yeah,
their love, carry their support, carry the people who are being there for you and that you can be there for them. But don't keep carrying things that was done and over with by now.
yeah.
Clear, cleared it off.
And I loved what you shared because it's practical, right? About writing the lists of what everybody had done and then what you'd learned from it. And I think another thing that's helpful if people are listening that's practical is to notice not only what, like with my dad, like in his funeral speech, I had to write his as well because I don't have brothers or sisters. I said, like, thank you. This man gave me my artistic creativity. This man fed me. He clothed me, right? He took me to ballet classes. Like, I have to, yes, well, the abuse, and it started so young, and I cannot get my head around that. It's like awful. But I also, if I have clarity about that, I have to have clarity that he wasn't a monster, he was a human being, a deeply flawed, in pain human being who made awful decisions again
Yeah.
and again. But he also did these things and had to tell himself so many lies and stories to justify who he was. And he had to live with that version of himself for decades. And I'm so grateful that had the grace of God to go through that and be where I am now.
Yes.
Because I could have made other choices myself, and I made some terrible ones in my 20s. But there came a point where I chose to go in a different direction, and I chose to choose to live and to stop trying to hurt myself so badly.
Yes. What it is, people don't understand that it becomes an emptiness in us.
Yeah.
That loneliness, that pain, that it's just it's like a void. And it's like the suicide for me was like, I just don't fit. I can't communicate. I don't have language. I'm just like, I'm all over the place. But everything is temporary in life. Everything has a time limit on it. Like I would get depressed about something. And I would tell myself, I give you 24 hours and that's it. Well, after an hour, I go, this is boring. Do I have to do the other 23 hours? I mean, seriously, how long do I have to read a press for? And then it's just, I play games with me. I'm not saying life is a joke because it's one of the most precious gifts you'll ever have is to be able to be alive. But if you're going to choose to be miserable in it, just remember you made the choice. Nobody else. Nobody
And I
else.
think it coming from you and everything you've shared, that's such a powerful statement. Because my postman could say that to me, and I don't know his life, and I could tell him to piss off, you don't know what I've gone through, or whatever. But I think that's what has moved me so much about what you shared. And I would love to, if you're happy to talk about it, that moment where you said you died and you felt this love on the beach or in the hospital, I'm not sure where. Could you tell me more about that?
Some of these, when I saw the Jeep go over, I didn't know what it was at first. I was laying on the beach and all the pressure was on my body. And I opened my eyes. Time, time is weird when something like that happens. And for some reason, I saw the rear wheels coming at me, and something told me to protect my head if the first two made it over, right? But when I did that, unfortunately, the wheels took me and twisted me and got me. Basically, my upper torso was facing south and my lower torso was facing north. And but I saw the Jeep and I realized what had happened. But somebody was yelling for her because she needed to tell her what happened, the lifeguard, and she couldn't hear him, and so she came back and got me again. So I don't remember much of anything after the second one, but what I do remember is I was laying on the beach. Nobody's on the beach. This is what I'm seeing. And this lovely man with this long white, whatever, beard came and sat on my stomach. And he took his hand like this and he put it over my nose. And he said, you're going to hear a loud pop. And I'm thinking, I'm deaf. What does he know? But, but he pulled my nose out and I heard it. I heard the pop. And he says, Catherine, everything's going to be all right. And when he said that, it's like he got up and he was walking away. But as he was walking away, I was being submerged in this incredible blue. A blue I've yet to see on this earth, but it's the family of a blue color. And then this big, bright, white cloud came toward me. And on the cloud came a hand. And, excuse me, I've been flying too much. There came a hand, and the hand made I thought it was my cousin Mary Lou. I know it sounds crazy, but Mary Lou had beautiful hands. And she had died, and then the hand turned into a hand that I couldn't tell you if it was a male or a female. It was so beautiful. And it wasn't like, it's not like you die and you see God and you go, hey, God, nice robe, lose the sandal, not mashing. It's not a conversation. It's a knowing. It's home. It's a knowing. And I remember distinctly, no, I'm not ready yet. Like I just remember that so strongly. And when I said that, the blue turned away, the cloud went away, the hand, everything went away. And apparently they already got a paramedic there, and there was a board under me. They had a neck brace on me. They're all, But the thing that was weird, the paramedics were trying to strap me onto the board, but my one hand was reaching up the whole time. So I was reaching for that hand, but we never made that connection. And so as soon as I saw my hand, I brought it down and then they strapped me in. But I remember the choice, the gift of choice was such a powerful thing for me because I never realized that we all make choices in life. The problem is a lot of us think we only have one or two choices to choose from. People need to learn to set up their options and really look at it before they make choices. But the great thing about a choice is unlimited. If you make a bad choice, you can rectify it with another one. You don't have limited amount of choices you can make in your lifetime. It is a gift from above. You get to choose your path. You get to choose how you want to respond to something. You get to choose who you're going to love. You get to choose who you're going to let abuse you. You get to choose. So you got to be careful about your choices. Now, if you're in an abusive relationship, you get to choose to get the heck out of it. That is, if it's what you want. Maybe you're happy being abused. I don't get it. But I'm saying you're entitled to a fabulous life, but you get to choose to make it fabulous.
It's so true. And it's hard to hear because when we're in deep stress, when we're in fight or flight or freeze or fawn, we only see this. And
Yeah,
then we have very loud limiting belief stories about if I leave, he'll kill me, or if I leave, I'll die, or I've been worn down to believe that this is all I'm worthy of. And it's no one's fault. But the only way to really change it, I believe, is to come within for our own sovereignty.
yeah. We create negative pictures. We're born, we're human, we judge too quickly, you know, we assume too quickly. We create stories in our head that have yet exist. Well, if I go out with him, and I never forget my girlfriend, she was so excited. She was going on a date with this guy. And she says, he's gonna pick me up at 7. We're gonna go to such and such a place and we're gonna have dinner. I'm gonna have the salmon. He's gonna have the steak. And then we're gonna go for a walk on the beach. And she had this all planned out. Well, later that night, I called her up, how'd your date go? She said, we didn't go to that restaurant. We had spaghetti. We go to the beach. We didn't even, and I said, did you give him a copy of the script? Did you give them a copy of it? You created a whole scenario without the person. You didn't even ask them if that's what they would want.
Yeah.
You know, if we quit creating these incredible scenarios of stories in our head before we get into the situation, then we can't appreciate what is obvious to be there for us. We set ourselves up for disappointment.
Yeah.
So don't write the story unless you're planning on giving somebody the copy of the script.
Yeah. And then and then where's the potential for greatness, right? For grace. If we
Yeah,
try to control everything so tightly, and I will do this and then I will do that. And I was talking to a friend today, we went for a swim in the sea, and she's just come back from her first big solo travel, like with backpack, and she was in Vietnam. And she was saying the thing about real travel is you can't plan because you don't know if you're going to have the energy to do another 27 waterfall treks, or you're going
yeah,
to need to sit and meditate or sleep, or you just have to go there and see what happens. And I was like, yes, and that's why I love it because today we can be so busy with, the technology, and we can start to plan. When we plan, we make stories and we give meaning to things. And there's something about travel and creativity where we have to be in the moment and we have to see what is brought to us and what arises. And it stops us making, or it helps us to not make meaning, makes us suffer. And I think that's also one of the great teachings that you're sharing is the meaning that we give stuff is what's in our power.
yeah. And don't have expectations on anybody because you're gonna set yourself up for disappointment.
Yeah.
Nobody's responsible for our happiness but our own. And the
Mm,
thing that makes me happy is that I get to be me. I get to choose who I want to be. I get to celebrate simple little things, and I get to avoid what I don't want in my life. I have a voice now. I have a voice to
mm,
say, I'm sorry, but the energy is not matching on mine. I don't have the time. I just can't give unless I know I have refilled myself up. I need to know that this is taken care of because if this is not taken care of, I can't take care of you. I
mm,
have a school for low income families for deaf and hard of hearing children. We give them spoken language. And that is everything to me to be able to give these kids what I never had growing up. And that is the confidence and the self esteem to know that they are perfect the way they are. They can improve on their speech. They can, learn how to fit in society. And I don't want them to feel left out.
yeah.
And I want them to have a voice to say no.
That's amazing. Where is your school?
I have one in Culver City, one in Oxnard, and we work with people with places across, like we work with people in Japan, Africa, India, and Vietnam. We
What
have
an
teams
incredible,
work with them because when the pandemic happened,
yeah,
everything was shutting down.
yeah.
And that's when we got into this whole Zoom thing.
Mm,
And we were working with the kids online. It's different for deaf children online. But then before you know it, other countries were asking for guidances. So we gave them the same thing. We like every Saturday morning at 5 in the morning, my founder, Michelle Chrissy, she's on the phone on Zoom with the people in Vietnam. Beautiful kids, beautiful kids. Yeah.
it's amazing. Similarly, in terms of wanting to, I've got to a point in my life where I'm really looking to how I can help not pass on the legacy that I came in with. There's a charity in the UK called the Lucy Faithful Foundation, and it's the only charity that works with, I have to be careful what language I use online, people who haven't yet acted to hurt children, but are having the thoughts. So there are helplines and there's therapy and there's a big movement to help and the families. And then if people have been looking at that kind of porn or images, they can go to the police with them. And then there's a lot of support for the families. And it's to stop there being more hurt children. But
That's
it's looking at it looks very much through the eyes of hurt people, and how do we stop this spreading rather than lock everybody up because there aren't enough prisons and that doesn't change behavior for everybody. So
exactly.
if anyone's interested, I'll put the links below to that.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
That was the one thing my dad did when I asked him that day. And I asked him, I said, Dad, how do you feel if I go on Oprah and share my story? And he said, if it could stop one person from doing what I did, by all means, do it.
Wow. That's a lot of courage. That's
Yes,
a huge amount of courage he had to say that.
that's his regret. That was his regret.
Yeah.
It's just,
And I think that that shows, and what's moved me so much is that the the human spirit to be more to for salvation, I guess, to use a biblical word,
yeah.
to redeem itself, and that we're all capable of being more than what we've done.
And I wish that every what would be the accuser or the abuser would, if later in life, if they have the opportunity to say I'm sorry, by all means do it. We just, I don't want to believe that everybody is evil.
Yeah,
My dad was not an evil person. He had weak moments, and I do blame the beer. And you know what's funny? When he was in the memory care unit, that's all he remembers beer. So I did finally buy non-alcoholic beer, right? And I says, can I put these in the refrigerator for my dad for when he wants a beer? Because it's that taste. He's had it since he was 14.
yeah.
And so one day I came in and goes, Kathy, give me a beer. And I'm going, okay. So I go get a beer. My baby brother came in like 10 minutes later, goes, Brett, give me a beer. And he goes, Dad, you already have one in your hand. He goes, I know, I have two hands. So it was like, it, I didn't want to take away the one thing he did remember, and that was the only time I bought him beer, and it was non-alcoholic. So you
It's
live, nobody is, look at, I am not who I'm going to be in the next minute. We change. If we're smart, we'll grow. If we're smarter, we'll grow to love, honor, and respect ourselves. We are one person. This is our house, the body that we live in. We are totally responsible for this, how we feed it, how we love it, how we take care of it. We only get one house to live in. That's it. If you don't take care of it, then you can't blame anybody but yourself. And you got to remember what you're going to store in it. Are you going to
yeah,
store the nightmares? Or are you going to replace it with really fabulous things that are going on in this world?
that's so true. As we close up, are there any final thoughts, any final words that you'd like to share?
I would give anything to be able to have everyone look at life through my eyes, have the gratitude, count your blessings on a regular basis. Every night I go to bed going, thank you for this, thank you for that, thank you for this. I think, hey, look, if I have a good bowel movement, that's a lot of gratitude. But it's the simplest things. If you start appreciating the simple things of every day and you live a life of gratitude, you have nothing to complain about. Don't get involved in gossip. Don't rewrite the story to make it more interesting. Just get in the moment, embrace what's here. What's here right now, Right now there's a mess in my office, and I'm embracing it. Love
Thank
yourself.
you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for your time, for your spirit, for your energy, for what you're doing in the world. It's such medicine. It's been medicine for me, and I'm sure it's been medicine for other people. And if people are watching this, please share it. Please write down below your thoughts and subscribe if you're interested in more of these conversations. But first of all, just and if you want to, hear more about Kathy, what she's up to, the link to their website are below. Below, I'll also put the link to the charity I talked about if you want to find out more about what they're doing. And I think that's the takeaway message, right? Count your blessings and look for the joy in life because that's what will set us free. That's what's going to allow us to love our existence.
They always say, when I die, I go to heaven. But the truth of the matter is, your heaven is what you make on earth.
Mm.
This is God's playground. How we get along here is our heaven on earth. How we love ourselves is our heaven on earth. So don't wait till you die to be in heaven. Create it.
Thank you, Kathy. It's an absolute privilege. And yeah,
I love you. You're awesome.
thank you so much.
And thank you for allowing me to be here with you.
My privilege.